Hello. Welcome. So three topics for today: martyrdom, a warning, and civilizational heroes and how they develop. So martyrdom. So Charles Kirk is a martyr at this point. That's pretty clear. The difference between him and other famous figures who are shot is obviously his virtue. Um, when somebody is famous, like Trump or a lot of other people, a lot of really powerful people leave behind a mixed legacy where some people say they're good, some people say they're bad. They have like a collection of up and down moral judgments you can make about them, and this has been increasingly true over time. So, like 60 years ago, something like MLK could, God rest his memory, I think he's in heaven, yada yada yada, have some sketchiness in his personal life, and nobody knew about it, so he could become a martyr, and that was very effective for that movement. As time has gone on, that's gotten more and more difficult because now we know every single thing about every single person around. And even if somebody is famous and reasonably good, they'll have bad takes that haunt them. Ben Shapiro is a good example of this. He is obviously a really good man, but his Israel takes are obviously going to spoil any kind of memory people have of him. That's why it was really the Charlie Kirk's memory is going to be very, very powerful because by all indications, he was just a really, really good person, and he was active for like 13 years. He hadn't ever really been corrupted, and that's a big deal because when people reach their mid 30s or 40s or whatever, there's always a temptation to sell out or to have an affair or do something actually bad. Um, or even just to get tired and stop doing the things that make you successful. Your peak happened. That kind of what happened to Jordan Peterson, where he had a peak and then he kind of faded, had that whole drug thing, and like he's still around, but he's just not the same force as he was. Kirk was killed at his virtuous peak, where he was doing the thing, he was successful at it, he was good at it, and he had a million contacts, and everybody loved him. Um, this affected people personally. He was the conservative right's little brother, um, essentially. He was the younger brother of every single influencer out there. So, as a younger brother, you're not just the left is still under the impression that he's some kind of politician. He's not. He was a little brother. He was almost family. People invite him to their homes as influencers day in and day out. There's like all kinds of people who probably listen to him 7 days a week. He had a following. He was part of the family. Um, and for all intents and purposes, it seemed like he was the same man in person as he was in public. That is the stuff of martyrdom. People are going to remember him for a good while. It's not like somebody who is going to be, oh, he was all right. No, he was a central figure. And he wasn't just an organizer. He wasn't just a speaker. He was a friend and a brother. And the death of somebody who like that is going to leave ramifications. People still do shrine and stuff in parts of the world. He's the kind of person where I wouldn't be surprised if like some Japanese group had a shrine dedicated to him. Or like they're calling his name, they're putting up his poster at the England protest that they're doing. They had like a million men, few million protesters over yesterday. They were calling Kirk's name. They were having like his poster up. He is a international. So Trump is like the real leader of the whole conservative movement worldwide. Trouble is that Trump's gonna die, and he has skeletons in his closet. He is not perfect. He is flawed. They replaced a flawed figurehead for the right with a unflawed, perfect person in Charlie Kirk. Trump will fade. He will eventually lose his faculties. Yada yada yada. Trump is there. No, Kirk is there, perfect and perceived as perfect by his fans forever. That's a powerful symbol. A martyr is more powerful than a. I think I saw a quote that a tyrant's role ends when he dies. A martyr's role begins when he dies. All of that said, I do have to give a warning. So what's happening now is that the right is rightly targeting a bunch of far left losers who think it's okay to cheer on the death of somebody, anybody, of somebody who was murdered. So they're all being taken out of the field. They are next time whenever they post something, a lot of them are going to be taken out by this, either canceled or fired or just losing influence or called out, whatever. That is a good thing. However, those are the crazies that make the left look bad. So that makes the Democrat brand, once they get rid of all these people, or all these people are shot down, not in a metaphorical sense, or canceled or whatever, they stop weighing down the Democrat brand. That actually helps the Democrats. Meanwhile, we've got a bunch of Republicans who are moving hard to the right, understandably. And so they're going to start embracing people like Nick Fuentes or Candace Owens, other people who are kind of radical. That makes Republicans weaker because these people who are on the far right are not as persuasive to the other side. So we're going to replace somebody like Kirk, who actually did have crossover appeal and did bring people across the aisle from left to right over time. You're replacing that with people who don't do that. This is a problem because the center right that Kirk represented is what was fighting and leading the war, the Cultural War, the Civilizational War that we are going through. They are the ones who win. Because you win by taking people from the other side and bringing them to your side. People like Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens don't seem interested in doing that. That makes us weaker. It doesn't make us stronger. Now, there is a price for emotional outrage, fighting, being upset. There is a price for that. There is a price to be upset about things, and now is that time. I just warn that if we want to win, which we do, we have to keep reaching out to the other side. We can't go down the hatred pole. We can't go down the hatred pipe because that doesn't win. Being radical doesn't win for the right. We have to keep bringing people over, and that's what we've been doing. Trump is not actually a radical person. He is actually his actual positions are pretty center right, and he's been successful. Now there are certain policy changes we do need to push for that might be construed as being radical, like in Europe, there might have to be migration. That's just a fact. Or in America, we might need to cut the funding of things like NGOs and stuff that basically let the government funds NGOs. The NGOs fund Democratic politicians. Democratic politicians fund money to the NGOs. It's a circle. And that's cheating. That needs to be cut out because that gives them an unfair advantage. That's the kind of thing we can do now. We can cut down their funding. We can cut down the corruption that lets them direct money to their own people. We can cancel people who are just jackasses. That makes the left stronger. It probably also makes the left saner. I think we would do better if we had two sane parties instead of just one. I'm just saying there's a temptation right now to go full right wing. And it's not a good strat. You want to win. You don't want to just You want to win. You don't want to just express your emotions. You don't want to get upset. I used to get upset about things. I was really, really upset. And it didn't make me seem strong. It made me seem weak and crazy. You want to be tactical and work on winning. That's how you express your emotions. You win. So be like Charlie Kirk. He was a damn effective man. And we want to be effective, don't we? In his memory. Okay, so Civilizational Heroes. Um, this is where we're kind of on right now. Is Charlie Kirk is now being martyred? Is a new hero for the right, and the thing is, we've always had heroes throughout history. The ancient Greeks had Achilles. The Romans had the story of Aeneas or Caesar or whatever, and they're different folk heroes. The Middle Ages had knights. Yeah, they weren't perfect people, but they were still heroes. That's like something that people. If you look at the literature of the day, people aspired to be heroes. They aspired to be knights. During the Renaissance, you had people like probably great merchants or whatever. And so on it goes. The British had their heroes. World War II is the last big batch of heroes that we've had. Oh, America has tons of heroes. Like we have George Washington, Lincoln, Jefferson, all of those guys. And World War II had heroes for it's like America fighting against the evil Nazis, all that kind of stuff. In the Cold War, you had heroes. And they mostly looked at the World War II heroes. The leftists spend a lot of time denigrating heroes in each and every one of these eras, saying they all sucked because they want to have their own heroes loaded up. Their heroes, some good, some bad, but they want their heroes to be the ones that are looked up to instead of ours, instead of civilizational heroes of whatever kind. So, what happened in the 70s and 80s is people kind of started making up heroes. We had like superheroes and stuff. So, the left has been working their butts off trying to get rid of any kind of heroes we might have. That's why they destroyed the legacy of Luke Skywalker from Star Wars, or Indiana Jones, or any of these different franchises that they run into the ground because they're corrupt, they're not great, they're mean, or whatever. They keep demonizing heroes that fictional heroes that we had, while they're also demonizing non-fictional heroes and knights, soldiers, the Greek myths, all those kind of things. They want to get rid of all of our options for people to generate manly feelings of fighting or fighting for what you believe in. We need to not have that. We need to have heroes again. And I would recommend that we worship all of our heroes, all the way from the ancient Greeks to the knights to everything else. And you feel good about it. That's the thing that's really struck me over the past few days is that like I feel more powerful right now. I feel like just having somebody in the news who like sacrificed everything for his beliefs makes me feel like I want to do more. I want to fight for. I want to fight. I don't want to just be like, oh well, policies, whatever. I want to be like, no, we'll fight. We're the good guys. We want to feel like we're the good guys. The left has been very, very good at feeling like they're the good guys, and I think that they kind of sacrificed their heroic high ground, and they've been sacrificing it for a while, but not really. They still think they're the good guys, and I think the right still has a lingering sense that we don't want to go too far. We don't want to be too mean. Yada yada yada. I think that that's something that's been awakened, and if it is channeled the right way, it's going to win. What do I mean by channeling it the right way? I mean you have to even a hero has to worry about tactics. A hero who charges down against a army of pikemen is not going to be a hero for very long. You need to fight with wit as well as force, but you need the force too. And so I would ask that everybody start remembering our heroes again. Like, don't see yourself as a 20th century office worker. You're a knight. Don't think of yourself as a internet troll. You're a rhetorician. You're a debater. Consider yourself the higher form instead of the lower form. Don't consider yourself the lower form because you're not. You're the higher form compared to what you're fighting against. Anyway, that's all I got for now. Cheers.